Good morning. Good morning, everybody here in this room, as well as everybody online. We are so pleased to welcome you to the second day of our conference of the East, West, and Central Africa area. So I hope you slept well, and as I did, and I hope we are all ready for another day, because yesterday was a very productive day. We listened and we learned and we were touched by some of the speakers. We were also encouraged and inspired and motivated to carry on with the wonderful work people are doing on their own, but also in their branches, but also within ACWW. So I hope you are ready for the program today, because it's also a promising program. And I would like you to please enjoy the program, enjoy what we are offering, and also to participate in this event. So we are starting off this morning with the area report of the area president, which is usually a highlight on the program of an area conference. And we are now looking forward to receive the report from our area president, Irene Chittick.
Area report. Our journey has been long with lots of hurdles, blocks, and challenges. The East, West, and Central Africa has had a hard blow with the loss of many strong societies, dropping from the family of ACWW. I still hope they will make a comeback soon. The East, West, and Central Africa is plagued with the setback of members and communication. Let the new calendar bring some changes and get us committed. Communication is very important in everything we do. Broken leads to lack of trust, creating doubts. From our last area conference, we agreed to create WhatsApp groups for quick communication, but this has not brought in much of a change. The art of communication is the language of leadership. James Hughes. We are all leaders. Let's communicate better to be heard and understood. We've got some innovative projects of coordinators. This is a great opportunity for every society member to delegate and have a member represent your society, to keep abreast with all information and happenings, contribute and add your voice to the growth of ACWW. Having worked with you all these years, I know your capabilities and strength, and will be most grateful if we can be more committed, make determined sacrifices to help make the voices of the vulnerable women we represent get their voices heard. Our being members of ACWW is not about what we can benefit. It's more about what we can bring and add to be a part. Let your motivational drive help you stick to challenges, stand strong and tall, and ensure sustainability. We've had new societies emerge from new areas. The Sierra Leone and others. This is the diversity we have, and we welcome you all to this our great family of ACWW. We equally look forward to all the lapsed society joining the fold again. I'm proud to say we have 20 member societies across our 8 countries, with their members recently approved by the board to join us also. We have memberships from Cameroon, Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Togo, and Uganda. I would like for us to welcome our members from Sierra Leone, from Togo, from Liberia, and we all hope you will keep the steam going and we'll work together. At our last area conference, you made a resolution to the board of ACWW to ask that the Countrywoman's magazine be available on our website for the first time ever, so members in our area can more easily read it, as postal services are a problem. As you know, this was approved in 2019, and ever since, we've had the pride in knowing our area made a change for all members across the world. It is important that we take these opportunities to be heard and to ensure our area plays a role alongside the global membership. Our diversity is our strength. Let's use this to grow and strengthen the East, West, and Central African area. My long absence and inability to actively participate has made me sad and missed you all. My joy has been the strength of the board and executive to fill the gap and ensure sustainability. I'm most grateful and most determined now to be much of a part and give the best I can. Thank you so much for our very devoted and dedicated board and executive. Hope we can learn a lot from this dedication and implement in our area of the East, West, and Central Africa.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Area President, for a very interesting as well as an inspiring report. From her insightful report, it is very clear that the members of this area are courageous women, and their vision for the betterment of their communities comes through with the aim of working for the improvement of the conditions of life for women in this area. Thank you, Mrs. Chinjay, for sharing with us the work and the achievements, as well as the vision of this area. It is always very interesting to listen to the reports of societies and to learn from others and to follow examples of the way in which other societies work. Therefore, I would now like to invite representatives of the societies of this area to report on their work over the last 3 years. I do not have a list of exactly who is going to start this conversation and to start on this session of our area. So therefore, I would actually like volunteers who would like to share with us your report of your society. Who is going to start? You will. Thank you very much. This is Judy Edwards, Susie Edwards. She is the president of the East Africa Women's League, and she will present her report now. Thank you very much, Susie.
I speak better if I stand up. Is that okay?
Yeah.
A public meeting was called on the 14th of March, 1907, at the New Stanley Hotel in Nairobi. 55 people, both men and women, attended the debate. That was that it is desirable that the East Africa Women's League be formed. And so began this organisation of bold and brave women. Initially, the emphasis was on pressing for voting rights for women and girls, which was granted in 1919, but has now broadened into an organisation deeply concerned with the general welfare of all women and children in Kenya. And so it is today, over 105 years later, on from that historic meeting. The long-term objective was and remains today to take an interest in all matters affecting the welfare and happiness of women and children of all races in Kenya. This interest and pressure exerted has directly resulted in the 1924 divorce law, the 1925 Bill on Custody of Children, and the 1926 Maintenance of Deserted Wives Ordinance, mention only a few milestones, and these are all still enshrined in law in Kenya today. The objects of the East African League, Women's League, as per our constitution, are to promote the physical, moral, and mental welfare and happiness of all women and children, to cooperate with other institutions, leagues, trusts, and societies with similar aims and objectives, to stimulate the interest of women and children in the duties of citizenship and in public and voluntary work. Some of our achievements going back over the years are the Red Cross. A branch of the British Red Cross was formed under the auspices of the East Africa Women's League. The Pumwani Maternity Hospital, which was started in 1928 as a maternity home for African women by the Women's League. The Kenya Cultural Centre, the ACWW was a constituent founder member in 1953, and the Adoption Society. The League became the first registered adoption society in Kenya until 1967, when the responsibility was handed over to the Child Welfare Society of Kenya. So let us flip on from all the good things that we've done in the past to where we are today. We have around 800 members of all races, cultures, and religions grouped in branches throughout Kenya. We are non-political, despite our beginnings. The last 2 years have been a challenge due to the global pandemic. We have all suffered isolation due to lockdown and restrictions, but we have survived and started to flourish again. The situation brought its own problems, particularly for rural women who felt isolated and alone. Our branches collected foodstuffs and other essentials to be distributed to the needy and provided an ear for those who needed someone to listen. Through the wonders of modern technology, something our forebears did not have access to, we managed to keep together and weather the storm. And Magda was saying yesterday how this was the first hybrid meeting for ACWW. We've already done 3. The organisations that we have supported include children's homes, special schools, hospitals, rehabilitation of street children, the fistula programme, feeding programmes, and raising awareness of female genitalia mutilation issues. This last year, we embarked on a programme to provide girls with washable, reusable sanitary protection. Each branch was challenged to provide 50 girls with a pack of reusable pads. Every year, thousands and thousands of girls, particularly in Africa and in rural areas, miss school because of what is known as period poverty. A very real problem for us here in Africa, due to the ignorance and taboo surrounding the issue, particularly for rural women. Disposable protection is not always readily available and is very expensive. And there's the added difficulty of disposal. There is an island the size of 2 tennis courts that has appeared in the River Thames. This island is made up of waste sanitary products that take hundreds and hundreds of years to decompose. That in itself is very disturbing when we're talking about climate change and the environment. Many branches have embraced the project, and so far we have distributed around 300,000 sanitary kits across the country. Some have been very well received, others need more education, and that's what we're now doing, is we're educating both girls and boys on the whole thing. We continue to support women and children in small ways. Despite our collective fundraising events, like the South Coast Annual Goat Derby, our funds are relatively limited in the big scheme of things. However, every small kindness brings happiness and relief to someone. I heard a very uplifting story just recently when I was on a visit to the coast. A small girl said to me that when she grew up, she was going to join the ACWW so that her daughter could also have a mattress to sleep on. All the small things we do add up bit by bit to make a difference. I hope that over the next few years, we will be able to move away from handing out donations towards enabling women to help themselves by giving them the tools to provide for their families and move towards empowerment and independence. I know that from this conference, I will have learned a lot to put us on the road to this achievement. And just because I always like to end with a smile, I've got a little poem here that was written by Spike Milligan that I found and read during when we were in lockdown and isolation. And it made me smile, and I thought it was really very pertinent as we were in the middle of a pandemic. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. When he smiled, I realized I passed it on to him. I thought about that smile, then I realized its worth. A single smile, just like mine, could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected.
Well, thank you very much, Susie, for your report. Interesting, certainly. I learned a lot what you said. Finishing with a smile, well, that is actually very good advice. But you know, it just I remembered when you mentioned your goals for your society, and one of them was spreading happiness. And I thought that was very good. It's not all about learning and all the other very good goals that you have. It's also about being happy. And the way you now ended yours, I really enjoyed that. It's also the first time that I've heard about a goat derby. and then I read about it in one of the magazines Claire handed me. So it is, sorry, pardon me. It is really interesting to go around the world, to visit our areas and to learn about what they do, but not taking away from all the other things that you are doing in your goals to inspire them and to empower them and to uplift them. And I am impressed with the work that you are doing in this area. So thank you very much for your report. Thank you very much. Now I would like to listen to another report. Who is going to present a report now? Okay. What about, just let's go down the table here. Who is next? Uganda?
Uganda.
What about, where are the ladies from Uganda? Are you ready with the report?
We have an online one. We're just negotiating some local noise at their end.
Okay, all right.
So we may be able to pull them in just a second.
Thank you, Nick. That will be also interesting to hear from someone who is on the Zoom. But in the meantime, please get your thoughts together. Even if you do not have a report, on paper, you can just share with us what you are doing in your society and the work that you are doing there. I would love to hear about that. So let's see how we are. How far we are to listen to the online report.
Yeah, doing our best.
Would you like to tell us something about what you're doing in the Masai Mara? That's very interesting.
Yes. Nick, we can have a informal report from Agnes here now, or will that interfere with the online report? Okay, then please, we are going to listen to Agnes. She is joining us yesterday, not representing a society at this stage, but being here. But I am hopeful that her society will join ACWW. So please, Agnes, a few words from your side.
Thank you, Madam President, and all the rest. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. No, it's fine. Just good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's a pleasure and privilege to be here this morning. My name is Agnes Siteya from Narok County, Masai Mara, Kenya, and I'm an educator. Eritrea from RC Global Action. We are members of that club. Nick, speak up, yeah. Speak up, I need to remember the best So I come from Masai Mara. We work with the women that area on beadswork. Yeah, in Masai land, the only thing that belongs to women is the beads and the milk from the cow. So we are trying to see the way we can put these women together and earn a livelihood through their beadwork. They are very good artists, but they have never got something big from their beads. So we want to see how we can look for market for their beadwork. So we have started a beads museum. It's the second gate, the main gate to the Masai Mara Game Reserve. And we are trying to get capacity building trainings, training these local women on fine art. They are to do the fine art on their beads and also look for market locally and internationally. I also, being an educator, we do a lot of mentorship programs on girls. Because during the COVID, we had a big challenge in our area because almost girls between 9 years to 18 years got pregnant. Because all of them were, the schools were, when the schools were open, resumes, it was very hard to get a class full of girls. Can get almost like 10 girls out of 20 girls, most of them got pregnant. So we are doing that mentorship program to teach these girls how to be patient and how to keep themselves until they finish their schools. Also provide with reusable sanitary pads so that, most of the girls go and they are cheated by boys. They are given some little money to buy things like oil, perfumes, and in that process, they get pregnant. And then we are telling them we can provide with their basic needs like those parts and other things. So those are the things that we are trying to mentor these young girls and through us this race of hope, because of educators that have come together to make sure that we have more girls in school, because education is the only equalizer. When all girls get education, the community will improve, because when you educate a girl, you educate the whole community. That's what we believe. So those are the things we are working on, and I think we are going to work together with the ACWW and the women, East Africa Women League. It's my pleasure to learn more. I'm still learning, and I'm sure by the end of this conference, I would have got a lot, and it will help me to bring my community together and go to another level. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnes. You know, you told us about what you are doing, but also what your dreams are. And I always like that when people are having dreams and wanting to go further. And you really touched on the matter of education, because it is so often that it is a lack of education or awareness even for which are influencing people's lives, and especially young women and young girls. And therefore, it is admirable of what you are doing there in your community. So thank you very much for that. I think we are now ready to listen, to have the input from one of our on-site participants. So here we are, thank you.
So with apologies for the users in the room, the screen is connected, but our Wi-Fi connection is struggling this morning. But we can now welcome Inipo in Uganda to take the floor. Michael, you should be able to share your screen now.
Good morning to everyone. I hope I'm heard. I'm called Michael Tumwesije, and I'm the Executive Director of Need Home. I'm going to briefly share a report about Need Home and what we are doing. First of all, I'm grateful that I'm really been able to attend virtually, though we would have liked really being physical, but we are glad so far it's very rich for us. Now, about the Need Home, we are an NGO in Uganda, and we started 2003. I'm happy to mention that in next year, March, we shall be making 20 years. And we are glad to share this, the happiness and the completing of 2 decades in existence with you. This is part of the series of activities actually we are happy to have conducted with having the area conference, attending the area conference, as well as completing 20 years. We are so glad. This is our work. Our work is basically, we work with children and women who are living in the slums, and we are now basically in Kampala. Our vision would like to see thriving children and youth in safe families and communities. And more especially, we find out that in our work, that women are the ones who are carrying now the biggest burden, the biggest challenge, because it's like men have given up the work of parenting, the work of breadwinning to women. We are seeing it vividly in our work. So we do this as a team, accountability. This is exactly, we want to see what we do, that we do it very well as part of our culture with love, integrity, transparency, and professionalism. And we do this participatorily with the communities to make sure that we achieve what we want. So this is our work model. Sorry. We have 4 strategic goals up to 2030. And the first one is to bridge the gap of education for underprivileged children and youth living in slums. And then the second strategic goal is to strengthen the income and asset base for households, especially women-headed households, where we select these children, and mostly this is in slums. And three, we do to safeguard children in Kampala slums from abuse, neglect, and exploitation and violence. And then lastly, to strengthen financial realism for in-need home, because you realize that the major challenges these days is sustainability of organizations. Now, the nature of the problem we address is one, lack of equitable access to education for vulnerable children. So most of the children in the slums do not have education opportunities. Many of them are out of school. Then two, we address poverty at household level, especially women-headed households. And then three, there is a lot of child abuse and neglect and exploitation, especially in slums of Kampala. And then lastly, with the problem of hopelessness, self-pity, and mindset of I can't make it amongst the beneficiaries, the target group we are targeting. Some of them have given up life. They think they can't make it anymore in their situation. So we are here now to ensure that their hope is restored. If I can touch the first strategic objective, lack of education, the first program, or maybe in addressing the first strategic objective, lack of educational opportunities for poverty and impoverished children in the slums. We work in 4 slums in Kampala, and one of the things we've managed to do, and we've done it well for the last 20 years, is education sponsorship program. Every year we recruit 30 children at our center, and we do education bridging, and then prepare them for behavioral change. Most of them are from streets. Some of the children are from prostitution, scrap collection in slums. Some got from drug abuse, and there is that issue of rehabilitation. Some are in child pornography, and they are of average age 11 years, whereby when you recruit them, they're supposed to be in class 6 or 7, but at this moment, you have to place them in class 1. I'm glad to mention that every year, we actually support 165 children, 70% of which are girls and 30% are boys. It is a little bit challenging because to support these children, every child average, you need about $200 per year to provide him with all the necessities and the school fees to remain in school. But with the challenges of sustainability, this is where we come up to say, no, we have to work hard and ensure that these children remain in school. And especially after COVID, it has not been very easy because the aftermath has been very, very challenging. We recently, in 2021, conducted a tracer study where we wanted to trace some of the children, the youth who had benefited from our programs. And in 1 year, we had 84 beneficiaries who were actually earning an average of 400,000, either in self-employment or being employed by another organization. But again, the challenge has always been that when we pay fees for them in the institution, vocational institution, it has been very expensive for us. So now we are shifting to actually doing self-training. And as I talk now, we've already started tailoring classes at in-need home as a shift from actually putting them in the schools and pay fees, but we start actually training them ourselves. Currently, I would say that the current HIV Mr. Popularity for Uganda, whom we would call Mr. HIV in Uganda, is our own. We sponsored him up to the university and he graduated, and now he is Mr. Popularity Uganda. And he's doing a lot of HIV advocacy among the youth at the universities. We feel very proud and we don't take this for granted. So this is education sponsorship program, which is still moving on. We consider the 4 factors, we call it 4-factor criteria in the selection of the beneficiaries or the children to be sponsored. These are orphaned children, then children who are living with disabilities, out of school children because of poverty, and chronically sick children. More especially, we find ourselves having HIV, AIDS, and sicklers mostly in or on our programs. The moment we recruit a child, we identify what a child needs and we provide it. It is a continuum of a service, not until a child exits when he has left or she has left the vulnerability status, and then he leaves. So this is an intervention process where we have the entry of 4-factor criteria having been actually administered. Then we provide the service, and then at one moment the child gets out of vulnerability and exits the program. These are some of the children at our center in Namuongo. They are in the PE under the education bridging. Every year we have the 30. These are some who are already in secondary schools. We sponsor them. These are some who graduate, like these ones who are graduating in vocational skills. And as a shift, this is a small how we've started. I want to share with you that we are starting so small that we have even actually gotten 2 sewing machines. There is one professor from Nottingham Trent University who gave us 2 sewing machines, and we've just started like that. And we hope that we shall reach there. These are some of the paper skirts that they've just started making. We are very new. We hope Rome was not built in one day, but our skilling center, which we are starting now, to shift from high expenses, we hope to reach very far. And then if I can consider addressing the poverty at household level, especially women-headed, where we are allied, but they have shifted the burden of looking after the families to mothers. And we see them, they are the ones who struggle to look for basic needs for the children. They are the breadwinners. So we try to work with these women where we select these children to ensure that they are economically strengthened. So we do like village savings and loans associations where they save. So far we are having 165 households where we have mobilized them into village savings and associations. And then we do training, skills training and business enterprise training to tap the potential, they open up the competencies in these women to ensure that they can actually believe in themselves and do business. And then we sometimes conduct exposure visits where we take them from one place to meet other entrepreneurs who have been able to make it. And also in a way of mindset change, to believe in themselves. We have a 50-euro initiative, 50-euro business initiative, where we train them. We partner with Makerere University Business School, and they train for us these women. Every year we journey with 20 women, and then they are trained, they believe in themselves. We give them 50 euros after they've presented their business plan. And then we are glad to say that it is working out, because so far we have quite a number of businesses that have been started. About 50 businesses have been started, and we are following them up to ensure that they move up, they move on. And then 80% of beneficiaries from this group that we work with, they have attained the winning mentality. They believe that they can do it. This one, we always administer like a questionnaire to them whenever we meet, and we see those who are really believing in themselves. Then 30% of beneficiaries in 2021, even after COVID, opened up bank accounts. I am happy to share with you that for us, we feel happy when one of the women we support come and say, I have opened up a bank account. Because these are women who cannot read and write. they used to fear even entering a bank. But telling you that they have opened up a bank account, we feel so happy, and it is a great achievement to us and to them. So we always monitor. We developed a web-based monitoring tool where we monitor their income every month so that we can determine their average income every month, see whether they are progressing or regressing. Here we are doing like skill development.
Michael, I'm sorry to interrupt you, just because we need to take some other reports. Could we ask you to just make a few final comments, and we'd be very grateful if you could send us the full presentation so that we can include it in the training report. That's okay. My apologies.
Sorry, Nick, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
Sorry, just because of time, can we ask you to just make a few final comments? But then please do send us the full report so we can include it in the training reports.
So I send the PowerPoint.
Please, that would be great. Thank you very, very much. And if you have any last summary comments you would like to make, you're very welcome.
All right, thank you. So how many minutes should do I have now?
Well, the consensus in the room is 1.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so these are here we are developing skills for women. Like now we are training them in this portal. We are training them on liquid making. Here it was after Makerere University Business School was training them, and we were certifying them before they could actually get their 50 euros. Here, these are some of the sample businesses they started after we had given them 50 euros and after training. I'm happy, for instance, we have like this lady here. She's a refugee from Congo. She's the one, she has 7 children. But after giving her money, she is planting, she's growing sugar canes along the railway in Kampala, and we are so happy that she can now pay her rent and support some of the children. This one is making liquid soap, and now she's developing bar soap. Others are still roasting maize on the road, but we're trying to tell them that it is not better, it is not good to roast maize along the road because it is not hygienic. So we are journeying with them to see how far they can go. Like this woman has 25 children. We supported her, and now she's right now cooking food in the industrial area. She supplies food to people, employees, to the workers in industrial area. And we feel like now she can support the family, and the 25 children are in school. Finally,
it's really,
yes, please.
Really interesting to listen to your report, and we appreciate all the work you are doing there. But like Nick Newland said, please send us your report so that we can include that in the report of work of ACWW. We learned about your problems, but we also learned about your successes and all the good work you are doing there. So ACWW wishes you all the best for your future endeavors. And thank you very much for your participation. Moving on, I would just
thank you.
You are welcome, Michael.
I thank you. I thank you so much. I'm going to share it as soon as possible. Thank you, and thank you very, very much for listening.
You are most welcome. So I would like to establish at this time how many people in the room are ready with the report. If you can just give me an indication by raising your hand, then I can see how we can manage the time. And I would also like to mention your reports can be very, very brief, perhaps only to say where you are from and what you are doing. 3 minutes will be fine. So if there is anybody who can let us have your brief verbal report, I will be happy to listen. Are you ready? Yeah. All right, you can just please state your name, and then you will be on the camera, and if you could speak up, that would be very helpful.
Okay. Thank you so much, members. Thank you so much, the President. I'm really very, very happy to be part of this conference. I have never attended it. I've been reading about associated country women of the world in the internet. And at one moment, there was some proposal which I wrote, and unfortunately, I didn't get it. But today, I'm really very happy. I'm called Immaculate Bako from Uganda. To be specific, I am from northern Uganda, Arua district and Hora. I'm really very happy to be part of this conference. I am the director of Vura Women and Orphans Initiative for Sustainable Development. It is a CBO registered in 2017, especially to help women, the rural woman, and the orphans. A baseline survey was done in my village about women and orphans. Actually, a very good percentage of my village have orphans, one, due to HIV impact on the village and other natural diseases. And these orphans are left out without any help, especially the women and their mothers. As we all know, in African tradition, once your husband has died, it's the end of you as a woman and children. Nobody cares about you. But when we did the baseline survey, we came up as a group of women, we sat and we discussed about how we can move on with life. In this particular time, right now we have like over 100 women. We are working together. It's special to see that one, we support each other. We have a group where we do some saving, especially from our small collections or from our sale in the market. We put our money together, and at one moment we will borrow this money to pay the school fees of these orphans. Right now, because of that, I, as the director of Rural Women, have gone far ahead to look at other avenues to support these orphans. One, I got in partnership with the TUAM. TUAM is a UK-based charitable organization where they supplied me with the tools for tailoring. I have so many, right now I have like 15 sewing machines. I have tools for electricals, mechanics, carpentry, and joinery. So that made us to open a vocational training school to look after these orphans at a reduced price, because we need to pay these trainers. These orphans are doing very well, so much as not limited only orphans, but other vulnerable children are part of this school. Right now, I have 70 students who are taking part in these different courses like tailoring, hairdressing, sweater knitting, catering, and baking, bricklaying, plumbing, motor mechanics, electrical, welding, fabrication, carpentry and joinery, and those other 1 or 2 weeks courses. This thing has really impacted so much in our community. As I speak now, the first lot is now out and they are able to sustain themselves in those small garages where the boys are working on cars and the rest. And these families have been empowered along that line, and they are supporting other family members. And for this other woman, what we did is she can be able to borrow money from our circle to support the family and do some other small businesses. So that is where, but as for the training, as for the vocational training, the challenge we are having is one, according to my community, actually it's even very difficult to raise money for materials, especially the tailoring. We are trying to see that like the mothers, they can pay some money to buy the materials for sewing, but of course, it is not much. So along that line, I really need a lot of help from either ACWW or else other partners to come at the rescue of these orphans and the vulnerable children. Especially, and then again for girls, as one of our members has said, that girls actually during their period is really very difficult at times for them to come back and study. One, we are trying to also provide a way of having this sanitary pads so that they can be helped. And we have not only done in this vocational training school, but we are also trying to reach at the secondary schools and primary schools around so that they can have that cheapest way of making the sanitary pads. Because in Uganda, each pack of a sanitary costs a lot of money, between 5,000 Uganda shillings to 10,000. For a village girl, that is too much.
Yes.
So for that reason, we will also need help along that line. And with this community, we are also doing a lot of parental guidance. In South Africa, it's called Sinovio. So we do a lot of parental guidance on these children so that they are in line, or we put them in the right line to accept themselves and to work hard so that they are not being confused by these border men, those other sugar daddies. So we always make sure that they work very hard. I am really very grateful for this opportunity. I've met so many friends. I know Vura women and orphans will be helped. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution. And I find it admirable, the work that you are doing in your society and in your community for the upliftment of girls and orphans, especially. Thank you for taking time and effort, you and your group, to look at the challenges young people are facing. And it is, like you say, for you to be happy to be here, but also for us to have met you and to learn about your challenges and your problems. And for you to know that we are sharing with you. Even that will give you courage to carry on with the good work you are doing there. Thank you very, very much for your contribution. We have now online Ms. Irene Chinjay would like a word. So please, Irene, you can just go ahead and we are listening.
Hi, I'm greeting everyone. I'll just give a brief report of our activities. Being area president, I'm also president of our society, the Women's Empowerment Enterprise Network, which is in Cameroon. It's not been easy all these years because we've had a lot of difficulties and we still continue, but we continue to carry out our activities. For 2020, I'll give a report about 2020 to date, what we've been doing as a society. As a society, what we did was we could not do it all alone. We decided to have other organizations or societies within the community with whom we could work together. So we made partnership with two other societies, PAWET and Youth in Leash. Why we took the youth were because we realized we need the youth for, to be able to successfully pass a message on to the youth. So our activities for the 2020, 21, and 22 were based on the 16-day activism, the Beijing the Beijing platform action, what we wanted to do, and then WIN on its own was able to carry out some activity with its women in this troubled area of the Northwest Province, Bamenda. With the 16-day activities, we did visits on schools. We targeted schools. We realized children have to be nurtured. Children have to understand what violence is. We talk of violence, but violence is not only parents. They experience it that their parents might be violent among themselves, which is very common in African regions. But we saw that we needed to make these children understand, because among themselves, some of them carry the violence from homes to school. So we tried to go to the schools. We targeted some schools, went there, visited the schools, told the children the importance of love, why it's necessary for them to relate to each other, and why violence is not accepted. Boys, especially being, disrespecting girls or thinking that girls are not to be respected, because they have learned from homes that the man is the head of the family, the man is everything. And so he nurtures his boy to say, you have to be tough and you have to show your sister that you are more than your sister. So we made them that love. We try to educate them that it is binding. The boy and the girl have to work together for success. It is not only, the boy being the macho man and showing the toughness in the family. And with that, we realize if the children are taught, we taught the children and gave them that education, they go back home and they try to practice it. It impacts on the family, it impacts on the values that are being learned within that family. And then we realize if families are nurtured to experience love, to share love, to, not to be violent to each other, then we will be able to start making a change within the communities, within our societies. So we took that approach. Then we created some form of activity, which we made the children, or we try to make the children to be able to interact among themselves, report to us, report to their head teacher who gave us the report, and will come in when there is any difficulties. They should be more conscious about what is happening among themselves. If a senior boy approaches a young girl, she should be able to tell the head teacher, to tell the teacher, or to complain to the parents back at home, because we realize some of this violence at home, some of the things that happen that should not be happening, is because elderly ones try to use the younger ones, and the silence goes on. So we made them to be more vocal. We educated them to be more vocal and to talk more. Then the next thing we did was we had the Beijing platform. We revisited it. We educated that we did with men and women. We brought in the youths, and we brought in the young women and some mothers. We just wanted to see what it was all about. If the Beijing platform for action we are talking about, if we talk about CEDAW, we're talking about everything. It is good to always remind them. Some of them don't even know what it is all about. And we, just permit me a second. They don't know what it's all about. And so coming back and helping them to understand what it is all about, I think helped a lot for the women. And we had a session where we did presentations, we went back and brought back, revised what Beijing was all about, what is expected of us, and how we can carry this forward. We brought in people to talk about human rights. Why is it important to have your rights? We talk about human rights, but we realize that it is only talk. When we talk and we don't act, it doesn't make sense. So we try to impact it on the people and make them to be able to understand and move with the trend of times, especially questioning governments. That's why we had to bring in some human rights persons to be able to talk, some legal person to give more information on what you can do in a situation. So we experienced with elderly, with the grown-ups, or with the youths and some women and men. Then this was done in partnership with 2 other organizations. WIN on its own had to carry out an activity with the internally displaced people in the Northwest. We educated them on business management. They had training. They had people to talk to them, how to keep their records, how to, improve on the quality of the products that they sell to be able to market it properly. This, they were very happy with. The women created themselves in a group. When we asked them to create themselves in a group and decide on what they want to do, they did create a group, and what the name they gave themselves was Women, I can't remember, but it was something to do with Women Empowerment Network, based on WIN as their partner, or WIN coming in to give them that education. And for this 2022, we decided to, with training them, they didn't have money to start a startup for any income. We trained 25, but not having the finances to support the 25, we said we're going to start up with 2 of them. 2 needed 200,000 francs to start off their business. What we did was we gave the 200 to the coordinator. He gave one woman, said she wanted to sell firewood. She bought a truck of firewood for 100,000 francs. The other one said she was going to sell very small foodstuffs around her area there because of the difficulties that they encounter. And what we decided is, when as they are selling and making profits, what money they make, they give back to the coordinator, who will now support the next person. So that money is going to be some revolving fundings to help assist the women so that they continue growth in their activities. I think, not to talk so much, I sent in the report. I think the report will be added to the records. I'll stop here. Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you very much. It is very clear that your society is covering many aspects, from youth issues to educational issues. And yes, Irene, the responsibility of us as mothers to teach our boys, our sons, to have respect for women. It is certainly a part of what we have to do. I am so pleased to know that we have an online report from our new society in Liberia. And after that, I am going to give another 1 minute because one of our members would like to add something to her report previously. But now, since our member in Liberia is online waiting for us, it is my pleasure to invite you to please share with us your report or some interesting comments. Thank you.
So we hand over to Give Them Hope in rural Liberia. If you have the floor. Give Them Hope, you are welcome to take the floor if you are here online. You were a moment ago.
I think that they've dropped out. Connection.
Okay, I think we've lost Give Them Hope. Hopefully they'll be able to rejoin the call shortly.
Okay, so while we are waiting for the reconnection, it will just be the right time now to give you that 1 minute you requested. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, the House and the President, for giving me more chance. I am very sorry. I should not be monopolizing this conference, but I really forgot one important other thing. As I told you, I support these women to make sure that they are self-sustainable. Because this other particular lady who is doing this coffee, she does it in our local way. After roasting the coffee, she grinds it using stones. Then she packaged it, and this is what she does, she sells. Wow. What I have done as the director is, I have been seeing her packaging it in a local way in these caveras, those polythene papers. But I told her I can give you a better way of doing this so that you can add value to the product you are trying to sell to support these 7 orphans. So I made this, I labeled it, and then I got this packaging for her. Then that is what she is actually selling. She's supporting 7 children, who some of them at the university through this. So I'm trying to now request if we can help this lady to get at least a machine to do this. I know she will do a lot and she'll really support the orphans she's been left with. This is a self-sustainable thing because, you know, we cannot meet the demands of all these vulnerable people, but we should show them what to do so that they can be self-sustainable. Thank you so much. And this was the important thing I wanted to air so that it can also be taken care of. Thank you so much.
Can I ask her a question? Is she growing her own coffee or she's buying from the farmers to do the grinding?
Yeah, she is growing. Then at times when it's out of season, she also stocks it so that the supply is constant. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us and for taking me the trouble to speak on behalf of somebody who really needs support. And it is so admirable to know that a person will go to all that length to grind the coffee by hand with stones to make a living so that she can also support orphans. It is really admirable. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I am not sure whether the participant of Give Them Hope is online right now. If not, then we can just move on. And if there is someone else who would like to present us with your report, I will be happy to listen. Anybody from this side of the table? Yes. Yes, please. That would be very nice to listen to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President of Association Country Women of the World, ACWW fraternity. I'm so honored to be given this opportunity to present our report in this forum. By names, I'm Robina Winnie Nandudu. I come from Uganda. Our organization is Women Grow Uganda. It was formerly Rural Mother at Risk Africa. We are focusing mainly on the rural women who were at risk. We meant, according to our setup, women are not supposed to own land, inherit. You can buy, but you cannot inherit from the family. Whereas women are the main workforce. We contribute a lot in agriculture workforce. Yet agriculture in Uganda is the backbone of the economic, it's an economic backbone for the country. So in so doing, we try to harness the women who are actually misplaced, giving labor at no benefit or at very low benefit. So Women Grow Uganda comes together to unite and connect Ugandan women, especially those that are in agriculture or farming, to network for better opportunities to sustainable living. In so doing, we have identified the products majorly produced in Uganda, like coffee, shea butter, rice, beans, and so many others. So we organize gardens and we do actually social agricultural enterprise. We have right now, we work through women groups. Those that have credit, which have formed savings and credit groups, because they don't know what to do with the money, they end up getting money and misplace it. So we have organized those financial literacy education. We organize them and we provide financial literacy to them. We lead them to banks, they open accounts and their savings. We also identify land to lead them into bigger productions of agriculture so that they benefit from that. Apparently, we are in partnership with some off-takers that can also help us via information sharing, support us financially, and market information. We try to jump at the middleman, because sometimes you may produce something and end up selling at a very low price, hence making no profits. So we try to encourage them so that they don't give up. Because if you have produced something and you sell it cheaply, you cannot do it anymore. So in that way, we try to encourage them to keep in agriculture, to make it look like it's a profitable venture. Yeah, so the proceeds actually which we get from agriculture, we help to identify, we collect, Women Grow Uganda. We engage in other programs that support women. For example, we do reproductive health programs. We do we mobilize relief and distribute those more vulnerable women who cannot even afford a meal or something like that. Apparently, we are in partnership with the Crossroad, an organization from Hong Kong that distributes relief so that we can add some bit of hope to those that, especially in places which are unreached. And some of them are victims of floods, others are victims of landslides. Those who are coming from highlands, that is where we use some of the proceeds from agriculture to transport those things and distribute them. We are also trying to help the girl children who have fallen out of schools due to a long time lockdown, which has affected girls, young girls with their education. So we mobilize relief within the communities so that we give a hand to the children they leave behind as they go back to school. We have also skills development. We try to fix them in those vocational trainings in the area, in the community by other people, as we seek for the support to keep them have skills. Women Grow Uganda believes that women can do a lot. So we identify markets internationally and nationally. We try to package our products, label them, and sell. We can even buy from other farmers and we package them. We try to do a whole value chain. So that's where we are. Just like any other local organization, our challenge is funding. We also need we need more capacity building in terms of knowledge and others so that our programs can keep running. So I think with those few, I want to take the opportunity to thank again the organization for giving us this opportunity to present. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing your views and the ways you are working within the agricultural sector in that part of Uganda. And I find it admirable how you are trying to unite and to connect, because it is by working together that one can actually achieve more. Is that not so?
Yes.
And also the fact that you are seeking partnerships and doing things together with other bodies to help you to find markets to set off and for your produce. So thank you for doing that. And you know, it is also interesting for me to see how in all the reports we find this golden thread of education all the time, because it is about that educating that we can move forward and do more. I would like to mention that I know there's a proverb, a saying in Africa, to say that if you want to go fast, you should go alone. But when you want to go far, you should go together. So I think that is exactly what you are doing there. We unite people so that you can take your prospects and your aims, you can really take that far and you will succeed. So thank you very, very much for your report. I noticed that our chairman of agriculture is on the online meeting, Mrs. Alison Burnett, and I'm sure she found it very, very interesting to listen to what you said about your views and your approach to agriculture in this part of the world. It is brought to my attention that we have an online report now ready, so I'm going to give the opportunity for that person to please let us have your report. Is that the Give Them Hope from Liberia? No, they have not reconnected again. So this is someone else. So I'm very pleased to let you have this opportunity to present your report, please.
So Ms. Bernice Kito from the Africa Women Resilience Initiative in Eldoret, Kenya, you have the floor. Please just unmute yourself and then you have the floor.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
We can now, yes, fantastic, thank you.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Bernice, yes, thank you. You have the floor.
Yeah, hello, my name is Bernice Kitum, and I come from Kenya, specifically Eldoret. And our organization is called African Women Resilience Initiative. We are based in the rural part of Elgeyo Marakwet County. And we are a relatively young organization. We were started around 3 years ago. So we are still struggling to put our programs into action. But when you are in such communities which are really at the periphery of development and the rural areas, sometimes there are a lot of issues which you feel like you need to fix them. You feel like you can put your hands in all of them. But I think this is not possible. So we have zeroed in on 3 key issues, which we feel like are very fundamental in making and in supporting us to bring the change that we want to see in our communities. So my area is in Elgeyo Marakwet is basically an ASAL area. An ASAL area is arid and semi-arid area. And we are facing 3 key challenges. First is the issues of climate change. We are having failed rains for like relatively 3 years right now, and food production has become a challenge. So as a team of women, we decided to mobilize women to understand what is happening currently and to take action and start growing these drought-resistant crops, basically legumes. So we are supporting them to grow green grams. Green grams takes a very short time to grow. And it's also, it has a lot of values in that it can be used for household consumption to combat hunger at home. And also it can be sold so to get money for the household. So we are supporting them with seeds, and then we are supporting them to package the green gram and bring them into the market so that they can earn money. Secondly, our area, as a result of drought and issues of climate change, and generally being a pastoralist setup, we have issues of insecurity, which is occasioned by cattle rustling, and it has led to a lot of displacement, and the communities are unstable. So as a women organization, and also being the natives of the land, we are raising our voices to the government to take more action, because we know that insecurity affects women and children most. And we are raising our voices through advocacy and calling for action from stakeholders, that is particularly from the government, so that they can put more action. They can get to see what is happening. We are working on issues of supporting the implementation of Resolution 1325, that is women participation in peace and security. This is still at a very early stage, but we are already mobilizing teams, other stakeholders like the county government, other women organizations, so that we can see how we can actualize Resolution 1325 within our communities, so that women can have more power in terms of in supporting peace building at the grassroots. Because once there is peace, then community stability is going to lead to community prosperity. Another issue that is very pertinent to us, which we are currently working on, is issues to do with teenage pregnancies. The numbers are very high. Many girls are losing opportunities to be better. They are not, they cannot reach their full potential, because when they get pregnant at school, then they become mothers instead of working on their careers. So they take responsibilities early, and they are not able to break the cycle of poverty within their homes. We are working around with county governments on legislation on how best we can support these girls, those who have dropped out of school as a result of pregnancy, so that they can be supported to come back to school. We are also working around supporting girls to have their own personal power, so that they are able to manage these pressures that comes with being a teenager, with being a young person. The world is becoming very open nowadays, and then these young people are exposed to a lot of issues. Sometimes they get just confused, they don't know which to take. So through mentorship programs, we talk to them. We have a program called Don't Touch, that we talk to them, to the young girls, that if anybody touches you, then you should not allow it to happen. So it's more around reproductive health education, but in a more empowering way, whereby give them the support so that they're able to make decisions. Those are they're able to manage turbulence that comes with the age that they are going through. We know that this is tied to education. We have not yet had a very strong program on girls' education, but we are working around it. We are working with other stakeholders, talking about scholarship for girls, because there are communities that we are in are those very rural communities. The households might not be able to raise all the funds that a girl needs to go to school, but we don't want to start our focus on that very extreme vulnerability. We want to look at what are the capacities within our societies. What can we mobilize locally? What powers do we have within our communities that can be mobilized to support these girls and our communities to be strong and to be resilient? So I think that is our update. We are still working on a lot of things, but I think in the next season, we are going to have better stories from our side. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Bernice. Thank you very much for sharing with us not only the challenges, but I'm impressed by the fact that you are your attitude by saying you are there to bring changes you want to see. It is so important for us to also be part of the changes we want to see. So thank you very much for that. And you're speaking on behalf of the members in your communities, thereby you are amplifying their voices. And I think I can add to say you are indeed part of Rural Women in Action. And for that, we thank you. So thank you very much for the report. There is now 2 reports coming up. The one is from us here, but then I'm also told that the participant from Liberia is connected again. Shall we take that report now while he is or she is on the line? Yes, so thank you very much. We would now like to give an opportunity to give them hope. That is a new society recently joined ACWW from Liberia, and I'm actually very pleased to meet you. So I'm waiting to see your face. Thank you very much, or to listen to your voice.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is Getting Hope, Rural Liberia. Update, our women and girls send you greetings. With the help of ACWW and our own support, we were able to provide vocational skills training for 75 women and girls in soap making, making bread, gardening, and gardening. Graduation is pending. We have started building our multi-purpose center training rural women and girls. The center will provide a platform for multi-purpose training for women and girls. Our plans to continue with vocational skills training for 150 women and girls next year. 2, to complete our multi-purpose training center. 3, to provide school system for school system assistance for 200 vulnerable girls. Thank you so much. And also sorry that our computer went out of current. That was our delay. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome, and thank you for sharing your plans, and also to meet you now. Looking forward to having contact with you in the future. So all the best with your plans there with your Give Them Hope society. And now we are going to listen to a report in-house. Jenny, are you presenting that report? Is it another Jenny? Okay. So where's Jenny? There she is. Thank you very much and most welcome, and we are listening to your report. Thank you very much, Jenny, which is not Jenny Sellers. It is another Jenny. So we're listening. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Am I audible enough?
No.
I should speak up. Speak up.
Yeah, it's not always so easy, is it? But just be reminded, we are all your friends and we are and we very much like to know what you have to tell us. So thanks, Jenny. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, my name is Rhoda Akinyi.
Oh, Rhoda. Oh, sorry.
Yes, and I'm from Southern Africa, here in Nairobi. So basically what we do is advocacy on climate action to young girls and women, that is from the age of 12 to 24. We believe by doing this, we make them be at the forefront of championing climate action, because at the end of the day, we women are the ones who are affected most when it comes to climate change. So you can read them well. Our main focus as Southern Africa is to have a society where girls and women thrive and participate in solutions for societal problems. What I mean by that is now what we do is going to schools, girls' schools, and get these young girls who are passionate about the environment and things to do with the climate. We get to empower them through education and advocacy. I mean, tell them the importance of championing climate action and teach them on, like, provide for them solutions on how to come. We don't provide the solution as such. They are the ones who come up with the solutions they have, like, to their problem. We'd ask them, like, what problems do you have concerning climate action in your community or in your school or at home, and they give us the problem. And we have some discussions and some education advocacy, so that they tell us, like, what do you think we can do in order to solve this problem? They give us their solutions, what they think, what they feel like we should do. So where we come in is we equip them and inspire them. So this is what. Any question?
Thank you very much, Rhoda, and please accept my apologies for being confused with your name. I know we met yesterday and we had a very interesting discussion. So, Rhoda, sorry for that. But your words are very true, because it is indeed the youth who are impacted by what is happening in the world. And I think it is an inspiration that a young person like you will take this responsibility to educate and to inform other young people about these problems. And I wish you all the best, you and your group, all the best with your endeavors to educating and speaking to other young people. And thank you for doing that. And thank you very much for your participation. Is there anybody who would like to present the next report? Because I am looking at our time, and we have still about 15 minutes for us to have another report or two. Please do not be concerned by the fact that it seems I am skipping one event on the program. I am not. When we will return after the tea break, we will then do that part of the program. But I find it so interesting to listening to your reports and for you sharing with us So I do want to give everyone the opportunity who wishes to speak to us this morning. So is there someone else who would like to continue? There you are. Please state your name and then speak up, and then we are listening to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Mwenje from Trans Nzoia County. Yes, Kiminini constituency. I'm the program lead of the Nalena Pads, a project by the Lenana Girls High School in Kiminini. We produce and package the Nalena sanitary towels, the sanitary towels that are made from the sugarcane fiber. In Kiminini, well, we serve the disadvantaged and the less privileged in our society. As we all know, girls and women, before they approach their menopause, there is something that will always happen every month. There is something that will come knocking every month. And that is what we are trying to solve, because girls miss 1.5 months, at least in a year. They miss classes and they miss going to school because they cannot afford sanitary towels. Some of them use some ragged clothes. Some of them use leaves, others papers, and some other funny stuff that lead to the infection in the tract, urinary tract, which is a problem. So we're trying to make that community that we want. I was telling one of us yesterday, the Agenda 2063 of the African Union talks about the Africa that we want. So we are not only creating the Africa that we want in Kiminini, we've come down, not the Kenya that we want, but now we've gone down to the community that we want, the Kiminini that we want, and to be specific, the home that we want, where all women have access to better wash practices or to better hygiene and sanitation so that they can work in confidence. And in our organization, we believe that no waste should be put to waste. Waste is wealth that can make your world healthy and can also make your pocket wealthy. Thank you.
Rebecca, thank you very much for your report. It is insightful. And the fact that you are touching on a reality in life. In Africa, I know I come from South Africa, I can identify with what you are saying, but also other parts of the world where our members are, where this it is a challenge, it is a problem actually. And now you are touching on that, trying to raise awareness, trying to find ways to help young women, young girls, because the reality of missing school and the problem of you can become ill with what you mentioned, it is so true. And I really applaud you and your group for doing what you are doing. And thank you very much. And also on behalf of ACWW, all the best for the work that you are doing, which is needed so desperately needed in today's circumstances.
Thank you.
We have time for another report or two, or someone who would just like to share what you are doing in your communities or by yourself. And I'm very pleased to invite Faith. I've met her yesterday. We also shared a cup of tea and we had a long and very interesting talk. So Faith, yes, please share with us some of your wisdom and your insights and your experiences, if you like to.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Faith. I'm from Nairobi. Currently, I'm working with Kikapu Garden. It's in Buruburu. It's a program that it deals with teenage mothers. At the moment, I'm a volunteer at the program. I live in the ghettos, so what I do, in where I live in my community, there's a lot of teenage pregnancy. And the issue comes in that they can't take care of the kids because they're living with their parents, and also their parents have their kids, and it's just, and the biggest challenge that is affecting my community, especially the teenage mothers, is poverty. And I thank God because Kikapu Garden came through. I met Sally through my mother, and she has been the one guiding me, and I've been taking the girls from my community, taking them to their program. And I'd like to invite her to tell you more about the program.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Faith. You're putting me to the spot to say something. So Kikapu Garden has, my name is Sally. I work with Kikapu Garden. Kikapu Garden has two main programs. One is known as Ulezi, whereby we enhance the health and well-being of pregnant mothers and women in general, and children under the age of 5. 1,000 days of a child is very critical. So our aim is to ensure and focus on the nutrition, whereby we help them in matters of tailor-making the diets that they can use in the slum areas. And the other one is teen. It's called Teen Hope. Try giving hope to the teens. We work with teen mothers, and we are happy to have Faith on board as a volunteer. We normally do scouting and mapping in the informal settlements here in Nairobi, try to search for young teen mothers because we give them something known as Mama Pack. We are able to provide to them the basic needs that they would want to use when the child is being brought. Like from the hospital, we give them the diapers, we give them baby oils, we give them food subsidies for the teen mothers, just to ensure that the mother is comfortable and the child is also comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank Faith and Sally for sharing with us what you are doing among teenagers, teenage mothers, pregnant teenagers. How good for you to know that you are taking effort in looking into their problems and providing them with this program that you are doing. And I would actually like to mention at this stage to all our members all over the world, those online here we are, you know, as I'm going through different areas, meeting people, people are always worried about the age of our ACWW members. They always say, where are the young people? What is going to happen to ACWW? What is going to happen to our societies? Because we are getting older, and where are the young people? Well, my message today to those concerned members, look what is going on in this area in Africa. Here are the young people with the older people, no problem about that. But I mean, is here they are willing to participate in the aims of the ACWW and their societies. So thank you very much for you being here, for giving us hope. You speak about teen hope, but I think we can also say you are giving ACWW hope because you are here and you are contributing your knowledge, your time, and even to volunteer like Faith is doing. Thank you for that. And I'm really encouraged by what I've heard here today of all the reports we've heard. If there is someone else for a report, if not, I think we are actually very well in time, because it is time for us now to break for a nice cup of tea. So let me just make sure that I am not taking the opportunity away from everyone who was going to participate. If not, then we are now breaking and we will now adjourn this session. Yes, there is somebody whose hand is up. I would very much like to give you an opportunity to speak, and then we will break for tea.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Alice Abok.
Alice.
I'm a member of the League.
Yes.
And I joined you this morning. I was supposed to be there yesterday, but I couldn't make it for unavoidable circumstances. I just wanted to say something.
Yes.
To add just a little bit on Susan's report, because I'm from a branch, I'm from Mudaiga branch, and I'm sure that we have maybe 2 or more branches attending this conference. And linked to the various reports from different parts of East, West, and Central Africa, I think there is one issue that has come up, and each report seems to end with, we don't have money, finances are our problem, etc., etc. And just to share my experience since joining the League, that what we do at the League is, number one, emphasize on membership payments. So each member is a member because they have paid the membership. Number two, that we are given the opportunity to either host a coffee and snacks or luncheon and make money from that. And that money goes back to the branch, to the individual branch. And it is through such activities that we are able to support old people's homes from those finances, children's homes, and also to engage with needy groups, find out what they really need. For example, Mudaiga branch supported one group that really wanted a water tank. And so we purchased a water tank and gave to this particular group. Then to spread happiness even more, we visit old women's homes or old people's homes, and we have coffee with them. And what we do is, on such occasions, we are the ones who support the coffee expenses. So I just wanted to throw in that. And number two, something else that I have heard about the groups that are supporting women with sanitary towels, or the groups that are making sanitary towels. I think the activities are focused towards, let's buy for them and let's give them. But then I was just thinking, the government gives free condoms, yeah? And you find them in dispensers all over the place. Why can't we advocate to our government, whether it is county government or national government, to also give free sanitary towels? I think it's a genuine need. Thank you.
Thank you. Alice, thank you very much. You raised, in conclusion, you raised a very valid point. And you know, with your societies and our societies in ACWW, that's exactly what we can do, is to approach governments and to approach partners and exactly what you are saying, because then you are giving a voice to the people without a voice. And I really applaud you for that. And then also what you said about fundraising, how very good it is to know, you know, one always feels good when one is part of a fundraising project to use that money for the betterment of someone else. Instead of waiting for money to come to us, we make a plan in getting money that we can use for the betterment of other people. And for that, I'm really very, very happy to know, because I know that is what is going on in our other societies as well. But thank you for mentioning it. We have actually experienced yesterday, because I know catering is one of the aspects of the work of the League, and we experienced and we actually tasted the very tasty food that was presented to us yesterday. So yes, let us take all the opportunities that we can have to raise money for the betterment of those who are less fortunate than we are. There is another online report, actually. So I'm sorry, I think you will just have to bear with us for another minute or two or three, perhaps, because it is really, this is the opportunity on our program to listen to the reports of our members. And therefore, I am going to postpone the tea break with another few minutes to give the opportunity to someone online to share a report. So please go and introduce yourself and we will like to listen to you.
Yes.
Okay, so we have now Kawoda in Uganda to take the floor. Thank you. Kawoda, can you hear us? Possibly not.
All right, but then I would like to invite you, please, to send your report to central office. As everyone else, we really need your reports to be sent to the central office so that we can know what you are doing, so that we can learn and that we can be part of all your endeavors. So it's not possible now to connect with a person who was going to participate. And therefore, I would like to conclude the session to say, as we listened and learned, I'm sure there are many questions, and therefore we will have an opportunity after tea break for some discussion. And even now, when we will have tea, let's mingle and let's use the time for us to discuss the matters of importance. So therefore, I'm inviting you on behalf of the our generous hostess society to come and have a nice cup of tea or coffee, and then we will return. And if we just set the time, we will be here back at 11:40. No, that will not be possible because that is only a 5 minutes time. We will make that at 12. Give us ample time for a nice cup of tea. Thank you very much. And for our members online, please make yourself something to eat or to drink, and then please join us in the bar. Well, I would like to welcome everybody back in the room as we are starting this session now. Welcome also to our members online and new people who have just joined us. Thank you very much for being here. And we will now continue with our program. And I would very much like to invite Jerry Sellers here on next to me, and then also Nick Newland from Central Office. And they are now going to lead us into this session where we will do discussions, where we would like to give more information. We have a question and answer session about the work of ACWW. And this is actually the time now for everyone to learn more about ACWW and what we want to share. So therefore, there is going to be time for your questions. So during this session, it is meant for everyone to participate, but we would like to listen to what Jenny has to say and Nick has to share with us, and therefore I am handing over to them. Jenny, are you starting? You will be Nick, and we are listening.
I think that Nick will start. I think we have some ACWW questions and some updates.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Just thought I would check. Good afternoon. Nice to see you all again today. And welcome, obviously, again to our colleagues online. I thought from some of the questions that I've been asked yesterday and today, it would be useful to try and explain a little about the structure of ACWW and the way we actually work. So I was asked this morning, is there ACWW in Kenya? And I said, yes and no, which is a helpful answer, because there is only one ACWW office. And back in 1929, when they founded the organization, they decided that they would have an office in London because it was cheap, which has proven to be not necessarily true these days, but the reality though is that our membership is who we are. So we describe ourselves as an umbrella organization of societies and individuals who share our interests and our goals of women's empowerment. So there are, as we discussed yesterday, there are 9 geographic areas, and each of those areas elects every 3 years at the World Conference an area president, and then the entire membership at the same conference also elects an executive of a world president, a deputy world president, a treasurer, a secretary, and at the moment, 3 committee chairmen representing communications and marketing, the United Nations, and projects. Now, as Jenny mentioned a moment ago, there has been some changes and there will continue to be some changes at ACWW, one of which is that our current committee structure won't be continuing after next May with the next World Conference, because the reality of the committee structure was that although people volunteered to join committees from the membership all over the world, it wasn't a representative system, because the old rules meant that you had to be able to afford to come to London 2 or 3 times a year to go to meetings, which is just not realistic in the modern day. And we have seen through COVID that actually having online meetings with committees and online meetings with larger groups works very, very well. So tomorrow there will be a discussion about the new ACWW coordinators scheme, which we're hoping that many of you will be very interested in. And that really is intended to, rather than having our membership represented by a few members on committees, maybe 30 people who tended to be from Australia, the UK, Canada, South Africa, perhaps, as much as they did fantastic work and gave very hard of their time, it meant that a lot of other countries and a lot of other regions weren't being recognized. And so going back to the point that was made yesterday, we recognize that that isn't representative, and that's why we are changing the system to ensure that there are more voices being heard. So rather than relying on just 1 or 2 representatives in an area, there could be 60, 70 organizations, each of whom has a voice coming directly to us through the coordinator scheme. So, and Jenny will talk about that more tomorrow. For the World Conference, this is every 3 years, and every member society in categories 1, 2, and 3 can vote at the World Conference. This is going to get a little bit confusing and a little bit complicated, but it is really important for those of you in ACWW who are already member societies and those of you who are interested in joining. So I'll just talk a little bit about that. Our member societies, if we leave aside individuals for a moment, our member societies, according to our constitution, should commit to the ideas and the aims and objectives of ACWW, which are very simple. It's the empowerment of rural women. And we can go through the constitution and we can break that down into more detail and specific elements, but fundamentally, it's empowering rural women. At that point, there are 4 categories of membership for organizations or for groups or for societies. We tend to call them societies, but you don't have to call your own group a society, that's fine. So category 1 is an organization with at least 500 women members. So these often are big national organizations or even regional or local organizations that have a big membership. Category 2 must have at least 100 women members. Category 3 is an umbrella organization. So it may be that you are a local organization that coordinates lots of little other groups and may not have a specific number of women members, but you still have those aims and objectives. Category 4 is a smaller society or a smaller organization where there isn't a set number of women members you have to have, and the membership rate is significantly lower as well. I'm not going to give you the exact membership rate at this moment because I haven't worked them out in shillings or dollars yet. But if you are interested in membership, please do see Jenny in one of the breaks and she will sort you out with the appropriate currency and the appropriate numbers. But basically, category 1 societies, the biggest ones, the ones with 500 or more women, receive 5 votes at the Triennial World Conference. Category 2, the 100 women or more, receive 2 votes. Category 3 receive 1 vote, and category 4 don't receive a vote at World Conference. The reason those numbers are the way they are, and I appreciate sometimes when you look at it, it seems unfair, like the biggest organizations get the biggest voice. And someone said, well, I'm an individual member, why can't I have a vote? The difficulty is, we have, for example, an organization in Indonesia who have been members for many, many years. They have about 1.5 million women members. So if they have 5 votes and then an individual has 1 vote, the democracy doesn't work. It's a complicated system because of the nature of the way we're spread around the world. And it's probably not perfect, but it is the system we have. And every few years, people suggest ways of changing it, and we do a really in-depth investigation. And it always comes back to, but then a few individuals overpower huge societies or multiple small groups, and that never seems fair. Sorry, I'm just. So the other option is what we call a category 5 member, which is an individual. If you join as an individual, you don't get to vote, as I've just said, but you do get some advantages. Now, in the old days of even 10 years ago, 5 years ago probably, the reality was that when you joined ACWW as an individual member, the discussion about what you get versus what you give was a struggle, because what do you get? Well, you get to join a global network. You get to join like-minded people. You get your copy of the magazine at that point, 4 times a year sent to you in the post. You get to attend world conferences, you get to attend area conferences. And you can do a lot of those things as a member of a member society as well. So, for example, members of the East Africa Women's League already have those rights. The only thing they don't get is the magazine. And with COVID, the magazine has gone online. And so you think, well, hold on, if I can get the magazine online for free, and I can already do all the other things, then why would I join as an individual? And actually, I don't need to give you a good answer because our colleague did earlier. It's about joining. It's about being part of a family, and by contributing a membership fee as an individual, you enable work to happen. You enable the organization to be stronger globally and to achieve its priority work. So, you know, we do, these days, we print 2 copies of the magazine a year, and the rest are online. So you would still be posting your magazine, of course. But we also know from the last area conference in East West Central Africa that there was a real concern that many individual members and many societies never received their magazines because between the UK and the various countries, the postal systems didn't work. And it was a resolution from this conference 4 years ago that actually moved, or 3 years ago, sorry, that actually prompted us to move our magazine online for members to be able to reach more helpfully. So going back to the original question of, does ACWW exist in Kenya? Absolutely. We have the League, we have other members here, we have other members all over the East West Central Africa area. As was noted this morning, Irene, you know, listed many of the countries, we see these flags on the wall. And actually, I'm just going to get you the exact update because I had it from the office this morning. At the recent board meeting, which I think was only 2 weeks ago, the board approved 5 new societies in Uganda, 1 in Ghana, 2 in Kenya, 1 in Sierra Leone, 1 in Somalia, as well as 2 in Malawi and 1 in Tanzania. So this area is growing, and those members will be present, they will be engaged, but they are the voice of ACWW in their communities, in their regions, in their areas. I'm terribly sorry, your name has escaped me, but is it Faith? No, Rhoda. I apologize, sorry. Earlier said, you know, we're not building, well, we're starting with an Africa we want for the future, but we're bringing it right back to our community. That is the exact message. You know, we need to know, I said yesterday, you know, we need to know what the reality is for your lives. We need to know what the reality of your communities is. But at the same time, you need to tell us what you want that reality to be and help us advocate at the international level and locally. If there are things that we can do to help facilitate, and by we, I don't necessarily mean 6 people in the office. I mean your board members, your area presidents, your other societies in the area, the rest of the board, the joining up of, you know, I think 3 people in their reports this morning identified that their organization are working with other similar organizations locally. You know, the role of the area president, the role of the coordinators that we'll talk about more tomorrow, is to ensure that you as members in an area are able to be facilitated into achieving a better quality of life for you and your members and working together. And we're here to try and help that. So when I hear, do we have members in Kenya? The East Africa Women's League was a founder member of ACWW that have been there since 1929. One of the real struggles we have is that sometimes information doesn't trickle down through societies. You know, the headquarters knows, the office knows, maybe the secretary of the organization gets the magazine. And sometimes it goes in the waiting room, or sometimes it goes in a drawer. But how does that information carry on down? And so that's where we need participation. So if you have newsletters, if you have Facebook pages, if you have whatever form of communication with your members, when you get information from us, please pass it down, please pass it on. If there's issues with language, if there's issues with communication, talk to us. If we can find ways of facilitating local language access, we will always do it. I can't promise it will always happen, but if we can find a way to make it happen, we always will. And we have in the past, including translating our action packs into multiple languages to try and help better access. Jenny asked me to mention the Rural Women in Action Fund. I'm going to give the light version of the history of ACWW funding because it gets a little bit dry even for those of us who live it every day. Until about 20 years ago, ACWW, if you made a donation to ACWW, money came in and then it was used for whatever it needed to be used for. Projects, other activities, conferences, having an office, having staff, doing whatever. About 20 years ago, the Women's Institute in the UK, one of our member societies, said, hold on, we only want to support projects. We're not going to support anything else. And there was a discussion and a negotiation done at the time, and that was agreed. We have suffered ever since, because although the WI members in the UK have continued to give very generously, and that has always been appreciated, putting it only into projects means that the whole organisation is weaker. Because as much as we need to be able to continue to fund our members and our partners and give project support, if the organisation is weak, then it's impossible to do those projects well. It's impossible to do that capacity building well. You know, we say to our members, focus on capacity building, ensure that you are stable so that you can then do the good work you do. And we have the same problem ourselves. So in February, the new board, or the current board, adopted a new strategy for finance. So rather than having separate pennies for friendship, which was everything, and projects, which was only projects, we are going back to one funding stream. So all money coming into ACWW, all donations, all support, supports ACWW. The board then budgets and allocates on what we can best do. And so that will ensure far more sustainable existence of our global organization. It will ensure far more sustainable support for projects, because rather than, well, what have we had in this month, or what have we had in by the deadline as donations, that's what we can spend. We can actually set a budget and work to a budget like any other global organization. So that is now called the Rural Women in Action Fund. So those of you who are familiar with Pennies for Friendship, we still need your support, we still need donations, but we're now calling it the Rural Women in Action Fund rather than Pennies for Friendship. But obviously, if you do donate, when you contact the office, they will guide you through the process as they always have. One of the things that will be mentioned tomorrow is that currently, Irene Chinjay, who we've seen a few times, your current area president, the way ACWW's constitution works, you can only spend 2 terms in any one position on the board. So Irene is coming to the end of her 2nd term, and so we'll have to step down as area president in May next year at the World Conference. At the moment, well, no, in fact, not at the moment, for good. For May 2022, there is only one candidate who has been nominated from the area. So you might think, okay, well, we don't need to worry about voting because there's only one candidate. That's not how ACWW works. So the candidate still needs the support of her members to be elected. So we will, the candidate will be introduced tomorrow and there'll be some information. But just to remind you, if you are a member society in the area, or if you're joining today or this week, or if you're interested in joining between now and the end of December, ahead of the World Conference, your vote is really important. You need to elect an area president. There may only be one candidate, but she still must be elected, and she still must have support per area. The other thing is that you also have a voice to elect the rest of the board. The world president, the deputy world president, the treasurer, the secretary, the other positions I listed earlier. And I know in some areas where access is very easy, that voting isn't always followed up. And in communities and areas where access to the voting online is a little bit more complicated, we tend to see much better results because people really make the effort. And I know that when we did our first online voting for area presidents in 2016, the Southern Africa area had 100% of its member societies vote online, which was fantastic, and it was higher than any other area in the world. So it would be great to see every member society in East, West and Central Africa area voting in the next World Conference to elect its board and to have its voices heard. For the World Conference, your area president will be elected online. So we will send communication to all members in the area in the next few months explaining how you vote and what process to use. Please, may I beg you, if you are in a leadership position in a society, work out who is doing the voting and make sure that only one person is doing the voting, because in the past we've occasionally had multiple people try and help from a society and they all try and vote, and then we have to say, well, we don't know what your vote was, so that has to be discounted. So please make sure the system is very clear, just have one person do it and everything will be fine. For the World Conference, if you're attending in person as a society, you have the right to vote in person, that's great. If you're not able to attend in person, which many societies aren't all over the world, you have the right to appoint a proxy voter. So someone else who is there attending from maybe your country, maybe another country, globally, we will help match anyone who wants a proxy voter as a society with volunteers from the membership who will be attending the World Conference, who can then vote on your behalf as you instruct them. They don't have to follow your instructions according to the Constitution. The argument being that if there's a debate, you would normally ask someone to listen to the debate rather than take a decision before they walk through the door. But for voting in the election, you can tell them who to vote for to represent you, to ensure that your voices are heard. And that matching process works well. It's worked in the past for not just members in this area, but members in many countries, including in the UK. We've had big member societies who haven't been able to send someone to conference, and they've had proxy voters appointed for them or nominated and then agreed with them. So I appreciate that's all a lot of information, and it's probably a bit theoretical, but hopefully helpful. I'm very happy to answer any questions on any of that, or leave you in peace to digest, and you can grab me at any point you have questions. I'm very happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you for your thorough explanation of everything. It's very good for us to know these things. And as he has said, any questions, I can see over there, Anne, is it not? Please, you can state your question.
Thank you. Do you get funding from the UN?
Okay, so the question, just in case people didn't hear it online, was do we get funding from the UN? Yes and no, again, is the really helpful answer. Funding from the UN is a really sort of big term. All of the UN agencies have specific budgets to work on specific things. Where we can, we find partnership opportunities with those UN agencies. So, for example, we have just had $14,000 agreed from UNESCO for a specific project that will be run in Mongolia next year as part of their NGO participation program. So we applied for specific funding with support from the Mongolian government through UNESCO, and we were awarded that money. We go after those opportunities whenever we find them. There's a huge, I can't remember what it's called now, it's something like the UN Democracy Prize, which has just been announced that we're looking at a bid for at the moment. And that's a big chunk of money that if we were able to make an application for that and it was successful, we would be able to work with multiple societies in multiple countries to achieve something fairly major. The difficulty sometimes with that is that it comes with direction. You have to do what They have the budget allocated because they're trying to achieve something. You have to work very strictly within that. That's fine, as long as that fully aligns with what we do. What we have always taken a position is that we will not chase funding that undermines our core positions, or that means we have to compromise on what we believe is the right way of doing things. We have had UNESCO funding in the past. Many years ago, we had funding from the FAO for a series of rural women's workshops, and that is something I'm very keen to encourage them to give us support for again. But it's an ongoing process, and sadly, it's not just knocking on a door and asking for some money. But from the kind of the central bit of the UN, no, we don't, not from EcoSoc.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nick. Any other questions? Yes, please.
I wanted to ask, what does this take for ACWW to support an organization or a project?
Okay, I'm going to throw that straight over to Jenny, because Jenny is our project grants officer, and I am not the person to answer your question. Sorry, the question for folks online was, what does it take and how does it work for ACWW to support a society project or a project?
So, I mentioned a bit about this yesterday. Currently, we're in a bit of a transition stage, and so new projects. We have a funding meeting coming up next week, but that's the last funding meeting that we have for the foreseeable future. We're kind of working on how we want to structure the new ways of assessing and welcoming applications. But typically organizations apply online. So we invite applications from member societies and non-member societies. In the kind of new direction that we're heading, we will be prioritizing member societies, so organizations that have joined ACWW. And they are invited to apply through our website. Basically, how it works is you submit a sort of small brief application with just some information about the project, and then that gets assessed by me, and then you are invited to submit a full application. Within the full application, you have to write a proposal, you have to submit a budget, you have to submit your certificate if you're a registered organization, whether you're an NGO or a CBO or whatever. And then you also have to have a bank account in the name of your organization. I think that is most of our kind of core requirements. And then with the new process that we're heading towards, I will then work with those applicant organizations to look through the application, have a more kind of involved process on that, so find out more about the application as it comes in, and then that will now be it will be assessed by me primarily, and then now this is the stage that we're still working out, but members of the board will then review the applications, and there will be a meeting and applications will be decided. So that in the way that we work currently and the way that we will probably continue to work, there will likely be 1 or 2 funding meetings per year when applications are assessed. And so you'll apply, it might be a 6-month process to apply for funding. And then it will end up with a funding meeting, and then the organizations that have been successful will be informed, and those that will also be informed.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Faith, I'm sure that answers your question. I would just like to mention, Jenny is ACWW's Projects Engagement Officer. That is why she exactly knows what is going on, and when she says about, looking at the applications and so on. That is her responsibility. That is her job within ACWW, and she's doing a great job, I might just add. Yes, please, Anne, you have a question.
Yes, with the funding application, are you going to ask the organisation what other funding they have from us?
Yes, that's part of the assessment process. We also then contact referees to find out how their projects have gone in the past. And within the application, they list previous projects that they have conducted, who they were funded by, the size of the grant that they received. Absolutely.
I think you can see, you know, that ACWW really takes responsibility for applications coming in and donations going out. It is really, you know, we are working with the money we receive from our members and from other donors. So we are very, very responsible in the way we are donating money or funding money for various projects. There was a question here, please.
Thank you. Nick, I would want to take you back just a little because I was not there yesterday. So I'm sorry if this was already done. I'm trying to understand the process of nominating members for the office. For example, you say the current office may not continue.
Yeah.
So when the current officers leave the office, at what point would a member society, and I'm assuming the league is a member society?
Yes.
Yes.
The league is a member society. So at what point will the league be involved in nominating members who would stand for those positions? And then also deciding on who would vote, assuming that we have 5 votes, or maybe 2 votes if we have 100 women.
Okay, so just to repeat the question for those online, it's basically about how nominations are organized, when societies nominate, and then how the voting is held. So with nominations, after we live in a 3-year cycle. So like most organizations, we have to have an annual meeting, except for ACWW, it's every 3 years, not annually. And almost as soon as we finish with the World Conference and everything is new and shiny, we start worrying about the next one for 3 years' time and everything stops being new and shiny. So once the board is elected and in position for the triennium, we start a process. And normally around, and forgive me, the dates vary slightly each time, but around 1 year into the triennium, a note goes to all member societies to please consider who they would like to nominate for the board next time round. They have about 9 months to a year to do that nomination process, and they have to find someone they want to nominate. If they want to nominate someone, that person has to agree to be nominated, but it comes from the societies. You can't say, I'd like to be world president. Well, you can. You can say anything you want. But, you know, if you wanted to be world president, for example, you could have a conversation with your member society, and if they're happy to nominate you, that's absolutely fine. You get nominated.
But you have indicated the requirements for that position.
Yes, so when we put the information out to ask for nominations,
yes,
there's a very detailed explanation of what every position on the board does, what the requirements for that position are. There's what we call a skills audit, which asks people to honestly identify their strengths and their weaknesses on a whole series of questions and elements. And it's not to say that if you have weaknesses in some areas, you can't be a board member. It's trying to show people, you know, who you are and what you contribute and why you'd be a good board member. So that goes round. Then around between 6 months and a year before the World Conference, the biographies for all of the nominated candidates are circulated to the global membership. And then at the World Conference, or just before, when we're doing online voting for area residents, people vote. The exception to that is if there is a position where there is no nominee received. So, for example, we will use this area. East West Central Africa, no member society nominated an area president when we did the initial call. When that first call closes, we then do a recall to say, by the way, you haven't picked an area, or you haven't suggested an area president. We really think you'd like to have an area president. Please nominate someone. And then there's another window and then that closes in again. Hopefully at that point, a nominee is found. If they aren't found at that point, so we go to, after, there's no initial call, no recall, we go to World Conference. Before the World Conference, the current board, so the outgoing board, must co-opt someone to fill that role for the next triennium, so that at the World Conference, when the election results are announced, they also announce the person who will fill the gap if no one was nominated. It's very rare. I don't know the last time it happened. I don't know if it has ever happened, but that's what the Constitution says happens. In terms of voting, I'm not going to use the League as an example because I don't know enough about your structure. I'm going to use the WI in the UK, the Women's Institutes in England and Wales, because I know their structure better. They have a national federation who are a member society in their own right. They have many then regional federations, some of whom pay for their own membership, but who are also considered members because they're part of the national federation. And then they have individual institutes all over the country, some of whom also have become members in their own right, but all are considered members through the National Federation. So the National Federation has 5 votes. We don't mind how many people carry those 5 votes. If you're in person at the World Conference, you as your, let's use 3 votes because I've got 3 of this paper. You know, you when you register as the head of the delegation for that membership, for that society, you get given your voting papers. You can vote with 3 bits of paper, and you can go into the polling booth for the election, and you can fill in 3 ballots and put them through. Because it's the society that's voting, not the person. You can, like many societies, say, well, we've got a delegation going, there's a group of us, so actually, you know, we'll all have a go, and we'll all hold one up when time comes, and then we'll agree between us who we're voting for in advance, and fill it in, and we'll all go into the ballot box and we'll place a ballot. We don't mind. Societies can do whatever they want to do. We don't want fights on the day, so we ask societies to organise in advance what system they're going to use. They have to, though, nominate a lead delegate, a head delegate, and that is the only person who can collect the ballots. That is the only person who can collect the voting papers. After that, they can give them to their members as they see fit or not. We're not going to get involved in that, but we won't hand them out. You know, if you turn up and say, oh, Sally can't make it today, she's a bit under the weather, can I take the votes? Unless we have it in writing from the society and signed by the president or equivalent, no. So that avoids people accidentally voting twice or causing confusion. I think, does that answer the question? Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for this.
No problem. I know we have some online questions, but if we do with them all in one go, I'll run back to the camera and then we can put them all up in one go after any of the room if there are.
So we are going to do it that way then. Are there any more questions from the floor? Yes, please, Anne.
Considering the instability in conflict areas, do you fund in conflict areas or in comes how do you deal with that?
Thank you for that question. Anyone can answer it.
I'll take that one.
We both know the answer, but it's job.
We don't fund in countries that have ongoing conflict. This is for the safety of the members of staff or members of our board that would go and monitor that project, and also for the security of the funds that have been generated by our members. If a conflict is ongoing, then there is a risk to the fund. It's also UK charity kind of guidance not to fund an organisation in countries that have conflict. If a country erupts into conflict, I've not actually, since I've been at ACWW, none of the projects that I've been kind of managing have had that as an issue. But for example, during COVID, a lot of our projects had to pause for a while. So normally, as I think I've mentioned, projects are 12 months. And that is the cycle of our projects. But during COVID, organisations were given basically enough time that they needed in order to, because a lot of their participants in their projects left the areas that they were living in to go back to their homes, more rural areas where it was easier to socially distance, etc. So a lot of our projects paused, and the same thing would happen on a case-by-case basis with projects in conflict zones.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny.
Can I just add
Yeah, please.
just to add to that, I mean, Jenny makes a very valid point. You know, in the initial phase, it's to protect, you know, the monitoring, the process, and the money. The other reality, though, is that in a conflict zone, the things that you need to be able to operate effectively are so expensive that unless you are set up to do that, you know, the number of NGOs who turn up in a crisis and rock up and then expect the UN or whoever is trying to stabilize the situation to provide them with generators, clean water, security. You know, you become a drain on the situation, and actually it makes it a lot worse. After the big pullout in Afghanistan 18 months ago, there was a lot of our members contacted us to say, well, what were we doing to help women and girls in Afghanistan? So the reality is there is nothing we can do, because the minute we touch foot on the ground, we are putting more lives at risk than are already at risk. We don't have the financial. We could spend an entire annual budget on 2 days of security, clean water and power in Kabul. And the reality is that it's at that point much better to signpost people to organisations who are already working in those areas and who know the reality on the ground. You know, comments were made earlier about local solution, local problems. You know, we recognise where we have expertise and we recognise where we don't have expertise. And we don't want to put anyone ever at risk by stepping where we shouldn't.
Thank you.
Sorry. Let's make a clarification. I was talking about the development work that we do. Nick was talking about humanitarian relief work, which ACWW does not do.
Yes, yeah, thank you. That's clear now. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
I have one question. What percentage of your project money goes into monitoring? I've been involved in some projects where it seems like, you know, 10 shillings is spent on the project and 200 shillings is spent on this NGO people having a world trip.
Yeah. But so the way that we allocate our budgets is that organisations apply for a grant, let's say it's £5,000, then ACWW adds onto that 20% of that £5,000, and that is the monitoring budget.
Okay.
It doesn't always get used fully, because depending on where the project is, if there's another project close by, or a few projects, then it needs to be combined. Exactly. It might not need the full 20%, but that goes into the kind of monitoring budget that we use.
But it goes, as Jenny said, it goes on top rather than from the budget for the project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know there are a few questions online, and we are going now to give the opportunity to engage in this conversation. We have 10 minutes before we have to adjourn for our lunch, and therefore we are going to see how many of these questions we can actually address. We try to do as many as we can. So I've just given Nick the opportunity to move to the other side of the room, and we will now tend to those questions, please.
Sorry, bear with me just a moment. I'm just checking who we have. So we have, forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Eunice Winnie, you have the floor. Eunice, are you with us?
I think everybody can appreciate that this is rather challenging to manage. But let's see, Eunice, if you are there, we can listen to you now. It seems we have lost the connection. Is there another question, please? Nick?
Yes, Irene Shinde, our own area president, would like to come back to us.
Thank you, Irene. We are listening.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Nick. It was just I just had when Nick presented, some idea came up because those are some of the challenges we've had within the area. I just wanted to throw it out to the women, and we look forward to how we can, amend the situation. He talked of fundraising. I know we all need to contribute to make our great association go. And I know the East, West, and Central Africa has been very salient when it comes to contributions. We have the Walk the Women. April 29th, we normally have to raise some funds, but we've never successfully done that. Yes, given the vastness of our area, but we could organize ourselves now. Each area knows that the 29th of April is important to us, and we can do some small fundraising to be able to bring in some money to add to ACWW as we demand for success, for fundings from them. I thought of that if we could look at it, it's a point for us to see societies going back, they have that in mind, and they know that on that day, wherever they are, be it Liberia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, where they are, they could make that awareness and be able to raise funds so that they could add to our great association. And to us, as individual societies, we had pennies for friendship. It's all moved around, but we have some contributions to make. And I don't know if we have been doing that. I can talk for my society, but I can't talk for the others, because as you pay your dues, you're supposed to make some contributions towards that. But I know that we've hardly had an additional fund. We are the poorest of the poor as we look at ourselves. But I just want the women to believe in themselves and say, we are not the poor. It is the value of money we have, and it is our mentality. What do we do with the money we have? There will always be a need for us to spend. But if we have priorities, we know that we have this organization. We are supporting them because we know they have been a strength behind us. We will support, because those who have been supporting, they too can get tired. So East, West, and Central Africa, I'm pleading with you women, let us, whoever comes as the next area president, let's rally around her and make a big difference by sacrificing, even if it's a penny, if it's a Kenyan shilling, if it's a Uganda shilling, if it's a Cameroon franc, if it's whatever, a CD or Uganda, whatever, let us make our own personal contributions within our societies. The East African Women's League, I heard their presentation and they talked of how they raised their finances. We can learn from them because I could see it was something good. This is a learning experience. We come together because we share our differences. We look at what is good. We take what is good, and what is not good, we put it behind us. So I'm just pleading with my women of the East, West, and Central Africa. You've been a strength to me. You've been a great support. I want us to move forward. Let's take the strides better. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Irene. Thank you. And I'm apologizing for some background noise that we have no control over.
I think Edwin was hammering in the background already.
Something is going on there, but anyway, we received your message and we know we appreciate what you just said. Thank you very much, and also for your appeal to the members of your area. Are there any more questions online?
We have Eunice back online. So hopefully, Eunice, if you can hear us now, you can take the floor.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you. It's not a strong connection, but we can hear you.
For this opportunity, it's the first time.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We really can't hear you. If you are able to type a message in the chat, I will very happily read it out on your behalf. But I'm afraid we can't hear you. The connection is too poor. But if you can type in the chat a message, we will read it out so that everyone can hear you. My apologies.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks, Eunice. Are there any other questions online, Nick, that you are aware of? If not, and there are. Okay. It is just discovered club.
Yeah. So I have two questions from Trudy. The first one is whether ACWW can be used as a reference number to fundraise on the website GoFundMe. Unfortunately not. I'm afraid that we can't do that. You can use, if you have had a project with ACWW, you can absolutely use it as a reference or when you apply funding from another funder, but I'm afraid you can't use this on that website. And then another question from Trudy was, is there any chance that we could get feedback regarding our completed projects, reports, possible areas of improvements, and then also comments regarding our suggestion to ACWW for improvement? Absolutely. Please email me if you would like feedback. And if you have any suggestions for ACWW on how you think that we should implement our project funding, we would be very interested in hearing your work.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for bringing those questions to our attention and for your answers. Are there any more on your screen here? I believe that's it. All right. Then I think we are actually wrapping it up now. If there are any questions from the floor, no more, then I would very much like to thank Nick Newland and Jenny Sellers for contributing to the session, giving your answers, listening to our members. Thank you very much for everyone who posted questions to us, and always be ensured that you can send your inquiries and your questions to us at central office. Please send us emails. There are always our staff who are most willing to assist our members. So if there's anything you would like to know and you can't find it on our website, or even if you have not looked, please contact us and we will be happy to answer you. So at this stage, I am going to adjourn this session of our meeting, because we are looking forward to having lunch served by our generous members from the East African League. And members online, this is your time now to switch off and to relax, because we are planning to be back here by 14:50, 15 minutes past 2. And then we are going to start our next session promptly at 2:30. So thank you very much for your attention, your participation, and this meeting is now adjourned.
Can I just say one housekeeping?
Yes, sure. There's housekeeping for us in the room, and for the thank you very much, Jude.
I was just going to say, our members from Mathega and Karen have probably over-catered, as we did our members yesterday. So if you would like to buy some of the food that they've made but has not been eaten by us all, they are actually doing a takeaway service as well. So after you've had your lunch, you go to see Renate or one of the members there, they will arrange for a little takeaway which you can buy from them.
Thank you. That is a very practical way of looking at it and making use of it. Thank you for that. Jenny, was there something on your side?
Yes, if you have not yet received a lunch voucher for today, please come see on your way out.
Right. Okay. So then for the rest of us, we will see you please 14:15 that we can start properly.